Hello. Hi guys. We're waiting for Mr. Brian Pataka to join. We are going to talk all about casting profiles. There he is. Hi, Brian. You want to hop in with me? Let's see. Coming in
Hey,
hot. There he is. Hi.
how are you? Could you imagine if I had like this really horrible filter on and I was like, hey, and sparkles and tattoos on my face? Because you know you can do that at the same time.
I am kind of disappointed now that she said that, to be honest.
Did you get your lunch down? Did you have your lunch?
Yes, did you see me housing that? God, I forget to eat all the time. Then I'm like, I'll eat it too. No, you sure won't. You sure won't. Okay, hold on. We're having a little connectivity. Tell me when you're back, Brian. I'm going to turn all my devices on airplane mode just in case. Uh-oh. Hello. Okay, let's try this again. I think we lost Brian, guys. He'll come back. He'll come back. Until then, hi. Thanks for being here on a Friday afternoon, guys. There he is. Hi, bud. Hush, 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 hush.
I'm here. Sorry.
I lost you.
I know. I was trying to make it so that I could see more of you. The comments were getting in the way, and now I think I'm okay now. Sorry, people. I swear I don't know what happened. I was getting too excited about those filters.
I mean, I really would like to see one of those filters. Next time we'll both do one. Okay, so today we are talking all about casting profiles because you've been like, this has been your main topic for a very long time.
I feel like
now.
forever, a little bit.
Yeah, and you've been talking about it a lot lately too, but I actually don't know this, like, why, because this was something you and I worked together one-on-one.
Don't talk about it.
A long time ago. And when did you become so incensed in casting profiles? Because you've been like entrenched in them for a long time.
So I appreciate the question because the reason why is because I would meet with actors who would say, I'm getting 0 auditions from Actors Access, and actors who had representation, like, I'm getting 0 actors from Actors. And I said, that's not an acceptable lifestyle. We cannot live with 0 auditions from Actors Access. Like, it would be like saying, the roads aren't working. Like, the road is the way you get there. Like, the road is there, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of potholes in that road, so we had to have a place to fix it. Because the way that the way that I think about it is, like, it is the #1 place where you get auditions. Like, the end of story. It's it. There's no other place, right? And so we are so easily seduced into new pictures, new reel. I need more credits. I need more credits that could just drive you forever and think that's all I need to chase is credits. And I just find like, oh, cool. Yes, sure. Yes, maybe. Like, maybe I want to say, because like I get very protective of actors' money, time, and energy. And so I always be like, maybe. But what if it's really just about like, you did kind of a shitty job on your profile? Because I feel like what happens is a lot of times actors just like set it and forget it, like an auto pay on a bill, like your Time Warner bill set up great. Maybe you remember when you get a new credit, but the thing that stays with you is always like, oh yeah, I need new headshots, or maybe I need new footage. You never think back, maybe I should go back and like see if I'm communicating to people in a way that makes them understand who I am. And so anyway, the reason why I would get incensed about it is I was like, I would be with other actors who would say, you know, they weren't getting auditions. I'm like, that is not, no, we're not going to be settling for that situation. We need to figure out what's going on. And so what happens too often also is an actor would be like, well, I'm with reps now. Like, they got me covered, whatever and I just am like, okay, so how often does your manager or agent like sit you down and go like, let's go through your profile line by line and make it look really amazing. And the truth is, you know, I think that's kind of not their job. You know, I hate saying this, but I'm going to say it. You get 10% they get 10% of your checks, so you have to do 90% of the work. I always hate that phrase, but I will say this, because I think it's such, thank you, I'm not an idiot, is what I want to say to that response to people. But I also think I think you are 100% responsible for the image you're putting into the world in many ways. They're not going to get, and I don't think they're going to go, I don't think a manager or agent is going to go that deep on your profile because they're relying on their own strength of like the name on my business and who I have connections with is going to be what you get auditions for. And they're not necessarily thinking that they need to go through there and pick through and make these big changes for you. And so I think this is big black hole we're all missing, like not black hole, like a big blind spot that people aren't noticing that needs your attention first. Yeah.
So the thing that comes to my brain when you say like clean up your profiles, I'm like, well, I have a resume, I have reels, I have photos, and it's automatically formatted for me. So what could I possibly do elsewhere?
Yes, exactly. I know. I never. You know, how can I do anything else, right? And like, it's such a normal reaction, especially for someone like you who really like gets into the business and does take care of things like that. I think I'm doing everything I can. And so I want to just kind of go through this in a few phases so that people have some really great takeaways kind of today to get it. So first things first, more often than not, when I sit down with an actor and say, let's look at your actor's access profile, the first thing that says, oh, I forgot to put this on there. Like, that would be a reaction. Like, okay, cool. There's great. You got your money's worth today. See you later. Everybody's there you go. Go in there. The other thing is I think actors suffer from this. And all creatives suffer from it, in fact, and it breaks my heart where it's this thing of like, if I got cut out of the film or if my part was small, it's like this fierce protective honesty that's this weird diminishing kind of honesty where I got cut from the film, so that film doesn't belong on my resume. That film's problem is that they cut you out of the film. If you booked that film, it goes on your dang resume. So I really like, that is their problem. That is not your problem. Did you do your job? Cool, you got that job. So that I really want to peel back that piece of it.
Yeah.
The other is, I always say like, look at your resume. So let's pretend yours is, look at as shining blue, new as you can get it, right? And look at your resume and where do you get confused? What, if you were a dummy who never met you before and you're looking at this, what does this role mean if this is a play they could never see or a film they could never see? Like so often I'll sit down with an actor, I'll give like, this is a good insight, is I'll look at an actor's profile and they'll have films listed and I'll say the character's name. I am not going to see that film. I mean, unless it's like you're in a major motion picture, I am probably not going to see that. And guess what? Even if you're in a major motion picture, unless you are like the star, we're probably not going to know who you were anyway. And so why isn't it saying lead, supporting, featured? Like, those are your options, move on. Now, the one question I get sometimes, people are like, well, what if I did background and all that? And I think this is a touchy, so if anyone's listening who's like having that conversation with themselves, like that is a place where I do think you don't want to lie, I put in quotes, because I don't diminish background work at all. I think you can learn a ton, but I think of background work as an educational setting, not as a credit. So I'd be mindful of putting that out as a credit because because then what happens is the person who is looking at your resume then judges you in a weird, sophisticated way for saying, well, why do you think you should put your background work on there? You're probably way better than just a background actor, so why would you list that anyway? So I know that's not your case, Sam, but I just want to kind of point that out for anyone else listening.
I have a lot of followers who do background work professionally, and they make their SAG dues with it, and like it's amazing.
Yes.
So we don't diminish it at all here. We're super big fans for you. But I do think in terms of like a resume building, that it should be. It's not. It's not. You're not in the. You're a piece of the production, but you're not credited in the production.
Right. And it just becomes confusing because then I judge your other credits because then I go, were these other ones fake then if you're listing background work? It becomes this whole dumb conversation you don't want someone to be having about your profile. So those are... And
I will say I've listened in on some clubhouses where reps, it was like submit your resume and have reps review it. And I have heard an actor get like diced a little bit because they had a background credit on their resume. Right. And I was just sitting in there thinking, oh, I just like, this could have been completely preventable. She never had to deal with this.
Yes.
And it was quite the bummer just to listen to it. So
totally get it. And so all this to say, just so that we give a little bit of context to kind of where we're going today is, if anyone's listening who's here, I'm teaching a class tomorrow and Monday that is completely devoted to this. It's called Gimme More Auditions. There's a link in my bio, but don't leave us right now. But it's free and it's an hour long. We were on for 2.5 hours yesterday because there were so many questions. And what that says to me, first of all, thank God the class was so valuable that people would stay for 2.5 hours, like in a Zoom room. That's like says a lot, I think, right? But the thing it also says to me is we're hungry. Actors are hungry for this kind of information. And what I think the trick about profiles is to cheat the system, you have to use the system, which is what you were just asking about. Like my stuff looks clean. So then my next question is, where are the places where you can sneak in some branding language? Where are the places where you can I don't want to say fudge, but you can, so sometimes it'll say like, this is a training mistake people make all the time. It'll say, I went to Bumble Cheese Studio and I took their summer intensive. Guess what? Summer intensive is not a skill. It means nothing to me. I don't care how long you went there. I don't care when you went there. This is not a corporate resume. So rather than summer intensive, why wouldn't you say acting scene study or on camera training? These specific, so I learned the skill that you put on there. Too often we're reduced to the name of the class. No one's going to understand the name of the class. The name of the class was something that studio put out, so you take their class. So I would say take that language out of there so that we're understanding the skill you got. And so sometimes that's where I think an actor can say, well, I'm lying if I didn't say exactly the name. You're actually making it clearer for me what I can expect when you walk in the door, or don't walk in the door when you submit your self-tape. Which, can I talk about that for a second?
Be my guest.
Oh my God, I'm like so on fire. I'm so geeking out.
I love it.
Okay. All right. Okay, everybody. The panorama. We had 18 months of panorama and social distancing. And now you were self-taping before, and now you're self-taping more than ever, right?
Yep.
So now you no longer can go in the room and like pick up the slack for your essence not showing up on your online profile, because they're not going to get that vibe check from you in the room. So now we're like, I don't want to say reduced, but let's be real. Your entire talent is reduced to what you can put on camera and on screen right now. There is no in-the-person vibe. And I'm not saying every audition's online. Let's just go for this. 90% of auditions are self-tape. Yeah. Let's just be real. So that means to me, oh my gosh, your profiles matter more than they ever have. Because now I need to get a sense from that. And that leads me to the casting networks update that everyone is going crazy about.
I have so many feelings.
Talk to me about your feelings.
Well, here's the thing. Does it look better when I open the page? Sure. Does it still look outdated? Yes.
You think so? Okay, great.
I do, because I think it just, I mean, listen, I know nothing about coding, but I just know there's simpler ways to put things together. Yeah. And it's just, I think, the reason that Actors Access, I think, is like usable is it's literally like, here's your main page, click on this to get to here, right? And I feel like Casting Networks is like a bit of a maze.
Yeah.
And I also don't feel like, on my Actors Access, I feel like I'm very much in charge. I feel like I'm like, this is what this looks like. Like I have my own link that goes to my profile. I feel very like in charge of that. My Casting Networks, I can hide a photo, but I can't delete it. I have to like call them if I want something done. I'm like, I don't stop like hosting reels on there. I stopped paying for it. Like I'm.
You're mad.
She's
okay.
mad.
So let me give you a little bit. So I'm so glad you shared everything. I want to share. Here's what I think. I think change is hard. Whether it's good or bad is not like part of the conversation for me. But I think that change is hard, and so we have to adjust to whatever this is. Mm-hmm. So I had two of the people from Casting Networks, the business, come on my podcast, and the episode was released on Wednesday. So definitely listen to that. And I was like, let's talk about it. So we have to all imagine no one does an update to their website if like someone wasn't asking for it, right? And one of the things that became painfully clear in that conversation with them is, you know, our clients are the actors and they're also casting. And so we have to provide casting what they really want. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I think everyone needs to be aware of is we're going to see more of their website evolve, because now that they're coded differently, because I do think their old website looked outdated. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, right. And so their new coding means they can be more facile with requests. So that means if you have a request for Casting Networks, please put it in, because they're trying to be nimble with making those changes. But one of the things that I want to make sure is I saw you say, why can I not delete this? It was making you crazy. I have news. I have great news. You will be able to. You cannot, here's the problem, with the update, you cannot delete photos that were added before the update. So those are the ones you will have to connect with. So now if you uploaded a photo tomorrow and we're like, I want to take it down, yeah, which is like, oh, well, that's obviously what I'm going to want to take down, but there's no way to fix it. But no way. But going forward, if you upload
that does make sense, though.
Yes. So because of the way it works, right? So, which I think in some ways is protective of the actor, because that means you're not going to lose the photo. But in many ways, you're like, yeah, but I want my shit to look clean and awesome. So I want my stuff off of there. No one is ever going to look at this photo, which is what I heard you talking about.
Yes.
The other thing that they did that I think is so cool is if you notice at the top of your profile, you get to write a blurb. I don't know if you saw
No, I have not.
So everybody who's listening, I'm sure, look, I hear someone saying, I hate casting networks update. Even months later, I still despise it. Someone's saying that in the chat. So listen, I want everyone to, so listen, we are going to, Sam and I, we are going to get you excited about it. Even though Sam's not there yet, I'm going to make it my mission to get us excited about it, because we have to remember, if they made the update, we have to know that that's what people are asking for. So that means, okay, I want casting to see me the way that they are telling casting networks they want me to be seen. So something about this I need to get on board with. Now, I believe right now, there are more ways to mess with casting networks than there are Actors Access, to like cheat the system a little bit, because casting networks gives you a few more columns actually. And there's one that's like the date that you did something, which I'm like, no one needs to know when you shot that film. Use that for something else. Let's put, like, it is not your business to know when I did that. Right? So unless you really feel strongly about it, like unless it was like last week and you really want to tell, like, that's not anybody's business. So playing with kind of what they give you is the trick of the trade. So what you're saying is, I followed my rules. I'm like, now we have to be creative, but stay clear while following the rules is one of the things I say we have to do. Okay,
here's my question.
Yeah.
I mainly use casting networks commercially.
Totally.
And for print.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like much on that page.
Yeah.
Is this a I love a homework assignment. Should I beef up my casting networks even though I just use it for commercials?
Okay, so let me spill a little corporate tea about casting networks for a second for everybody, which is why everyone needs to listen to that podcast episode. It's so good. So they own Spotlight, they own Casting Frontier, they own Cast It. So they own all of these different platforms, right? So if you can think of, there is a powerhouse behind making sure that casting directors and projects know about them. I always think every actor kind of has the mindset you do, Sam, which is like, it's mostly commercials. Great. That means the 48 actors who are here right now will hear this, which is less actors are submitting themselves for the theatrical projects on casting networks. So the pool of actors there is smaller, which means you have a better chance of being called in. So I've had clients get great gigs from that. It does take, here's the other tricky thing is, like, because there's so many commercials on casting networks, we then think, oh, that's what they only have. But actually, they just have such a huge proportion of commercials, it makes us not notice that there's theatrical ones there.
Got it.
And the tricky thing is, remember there was that weird moment where Fox was only seeing submissions from casting networks? I don't know if you remember that. That changed. That's not the case anymore, just so that you know. But to me, what I kept hearing is, like, some casting directors like the old version of casting networks, and some, like, the casting directors and the agents, they are going through the same reaction to this update, right? So your choice is either to embrace it or to buck against the system when you're missing out. And I just think, like, if you're here listening today, that you believe some piece of this should change. And there are so many actors who are saying, I hate this, I'm not going to invest my time and energy on it, that the ones who are willing to do their time and energy are getting the opportunities right now because they're taking the time. Okay. And then I will say one more thing about that is, casting networks does love to hear from people. That's why they want you to call. Like, they will hear, like, this is something that isn't working for me. I want to hear, like, is there a way to change this? They will hear those kinds of requests. They can't take everybody's requests, but I just know that they do want to be more nimble with the changes that they make. Now, I'm not a company man here. I'm not getting paid by casting networks. I want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
But I just think that we have to, if we imagine ourselves as they are doing this to be the better service of everybody, then I just have to, like, let me get on board with whatever it is. It's like putting on your gym clothes for gym class. I don't know if you guys had to wear gym clothes in gym class in your elementary school. I was always like, you're not going to make me sweat today. Like, we're playing table tennis. Why am I bothering to put on these gym clothes? Stop it. We have to put on the gym clothes. We've got to put on the gym clothes, people.
I like that, because I don't want to spend negative energy as much as I made a really funny video making fun of the update. I still want to take everything lightly, and I know that everyone's nobody's out to get us, right?
Right.
So for those actors who don't self-submit, for example, when I started with my new agency, they asked that I don't self-submit anymore, which is cool.
Yes.
Let's review why your casting profiles are still important and why you're still in charge of them, even if you're not self-submitting.
Got it. Yes. So this is such an important one, and people who represent it can walk away from this so easily and forget about it because they think their reps have it covered in some way. What you do on your profile is what they are sending out. They aren't sending out something different. the way that you list your nobody's listing your credits differently to submit you. So if you are not taking the time to make that look the way that you know presents yourself and is clear, again, I just want to keep coming back to clear. What we tend to do is, I've listed the facts. That is conveying information. What we want to do is convey a message. Where is Sam going? Not just where she is. And so that is different. So like you may have the theater school you went to on there, great. You may have some of those older roles you played. Is there a way to not lie, but to write the roles differently so that it fits with who you're becoming, not just who you've been? So maybe you're not saying the random role, but you're saying lead, or maybe you're throwing an adjective in here and there when you can, right? So the reason why I think represented actors have to take it even more seriously is they're being submitted to fancier casting directors. And so when their fancy pants agent and manager are sending it out to the fancy pants cast director and their profile isn't conveying the story. Remember, it's Sam and all the other actresses who look like Sam in a row. So the headshot, great. Imagine, let's pretend everyone's headshot's amazing that day. Everybody who submits has a great headshot. Now it's going to be about, is there a slate shot? What do her reels look like? What do her credits look like? And do I know the agent? Those are like the things that we're going to come down to, right? And so the difficulty, I think, for most, I think probably most of the actors listening right now is they might be trying to bust into an office they've never met before, or they're not getting a certain opportunity they want to get. And so you have to imagine, so that person doesn't know me yet enough to just trust that they can call me in every single time. So I need to create that know, like, and trust factor with my profile. And Sam, let's just get, this might work really well for you, which is, remember that everyone who follows you, One Broke Actress, all the awesome stuff you put out, is falling in love with your material. They're falling in love with the material. They feel like you're their best friend. They feel like they can talk to you, right? We want to create that kind of affinity with your profile and Actors Access. I think it's crazy that we don't think of that as the same kind of thing you want to do there. Now, I know you can't post a photo of you with your dog on Actors Access unless you're trying to like get your dog a job, right? But you want to create that kind of I want to spend time with this person vibe. And that comes, I think, more from making sure that you show up in there with languaging. And I just want to be clear. I want to be very clear about this. It is not only about listing the facts. I just want to keep saying that over and over again. It is often about getting a little more creative. Yeah.
Okay, there's goodies in here. I want to come back to slate shots in one second.
Yes.
But I want to ask, someone asked a question, shouldn't you always be submitting? And I want to say for myself, who has agents who ask us not to submit, the reason that your agent might ask you not to self-submit is because the second you click submit on something, they no longer can negotiate the rate for you. So my agents ask that I do not submit myself because once I submit myself for a project, they can no longer negotiate. If I see something that I'm like, this is something I think I'm perfect for, and I send to them 99% of the time, they're like, yeah, we know. We already said
I got it.
But then they can submit it. But yeah, I don't self-submit for that specific reason. But it's a conversation, by the way, something to add to your list of things when you sit down to talk to agents and managers.
100%, because I think that there are some agent managers might say something different. That might say, it's totally fine. If you get an audition, you have to tell me right away because then I need to jump in there or whatever. It could be dependent on who they are, right? So that's really important for people to hear, because I think a lot of actors have like, I need to be self-submitting all the time. And there's probably a threshold where even your agents are like, we're not submitting you for that $125 a day job, or there might be a threshold where they're going to hit. And that's where I think the conversation can become more nuanced with your representation, where you can say, okay, so I know you asked me not to, I'm not saying you need to do this, Sam. I'm saying for anyone who might be thinking about it, is you could say, listen, I know you said not to self-submit, and I'm imagining there's some projects you probably would never submit me on, but I'm kind of down to do like a 3-day horror film for $125 a day. If I submit myself, is that going to bother you for those kinds of smaller projects? So so the only thing that where the manager or agent would get, just as long as you're not going to skip your network TV commercial or network TV audition because you did that horror film, I'm okay. Do you know what I mean? So like, I think that, and the truth is, we want to go into that conversation with this is going to be good for everybody. I want to hear your opinion, and I'm going to go with what your opinion is. I'm not saying I'm the only one in the room here. So I think actors can sometimes be afraid to ask for those things. So I really want to advocate for like speaking out. Okay, getting back to profiles, but wanted to just
I think it's a great point, because the chat was kind of blunt about it, but it's like also it's a personal thing. Like it's to each their own. Okay, so slate shots.
Slate shots. Okay, do you want to know who has the worst slate shots? The pictures in Hogwarts, where the photo comes alive. So listen, we do not want, and this is not what Actors Access tells you, if you watch on they have examples where people are like in their headshot outfit, and then when you click the slate shot, the headshot comes alive. And it is the most upsetting, Upsetting, I can't, okay? So no one calls in creepy people, and I think you look creepy. So my advice for slate shots is,
I want to see one so bad.
Everyone go to the Actors Access website, you'll see this. Don't leave us now, but like that's what you'll see. So I believe that you should not wear the exact same outfit. I believe you should wear something similar. Or if you're gonna wear the same exact outfit, make sure your background looks very different. I also think there's a world where, because there's a few different ways to deal with slate shots. You could do a different slate shot for every single picture, or you could say, I'm gonna have one slate shot that's kind of my standard slate shot for everybody, for everything. If you're gonna do that standard slate shot, then it makes me think about when we used to have one headshot that you'd use for everything in the olden days. So maybe you've got like a black t-shirt on or a simple blouse, and you say, hey, I'm Sam Valentine, nice to meet you. And then that is your slate shot for everything, right? You're just gonna use it because it's your standard one. But I have seen people do a beautiful job of giving us different flavors in their slate shot without it feeling charactery. This is the jump between I'm wearing an outfit that can suggest that I'm playing a lawyer versus I'm holding a clipboard and a pen, and I'm talking to the jury, right? Or I can suggest that I would look good in a lab coat versus I'm wearing a lab coat. I think the slate shots have to travel that line, dance that line as well, where I'm not exactly being the overworked mom who's just been to Home Depot and got 3 kids screaming, and hi, I'm Sam Valentine, hope you have right? So we just kind of dance the line between your personality and what your personality would bring to that character. Yeah.
Okay, so does everyone need a slate shot and on every photo?
Okay, don't be mad. I'm a casting director. You submit yourself. You and all the other people who look just like you. Underneath your picture are 4 icons. When you have a slate shot, that icon is blue. When you don't, it is gray. I want mine to be blue. I mean, I'm not an actor. I want yours to be blue, right? I want yours to look like you got all your shit together. And remember, it gives me the chance to go, is this person right? I can't tell yet. And if you don't have it, the person next to you had one, so I'll watch theirs instead. And I don't want to reduce you to a product or I'm shopping for Campbell's soup here and I want tomato or I want, chicken noodle. That's not, but we have to be mindful of some of it is about 3,000 actors being submitted for a job. And then how there's this little tiny trick to set you apart. And to upload one, I think is free. And you have 7 seconds in that video. That doesn't mean you have to use all 7 seconds. But you don't have to, that doesn't have to be put yourself on an actor diet in those 7 seconds. I think that the thing that I find happens in slate shots is we're apologizing for ourselves in a slate shot. And that is not the energy you want to bring to that.
Okay, great. Okay, so we have slate shots. We have, do you want to talk about the difference between having a slate shot and having real footage? And
sure, and clips and all that stuff?
Yeah, because we got, this is where you get on and it can be, you can just lose your mind as an actor.
Oh,
you're okay, I took good photos, let's go. And you go online and it's have a slate shot, have a reel, and you're just I was not prepared.
I was not going to do this. I did a good job with my headshots. Am I done yet? Right, okay. I wish, I'm going to be honest, I wish that was it. I wish it was just a headshot and it was done. It's not. So we have to I also think that I want to go back to the post-panorama world, which is, we are now an evidence-based business. So it would be show me that if this actor says she is funny, then she needs to show me she can do funny with footage that shows me that she's doing funny, because I'm calling in actors who I've seen do the work as doing funny, right? I'm calling people who have self-tapes that show me you doing the funny. So it used to be managers want self-tapes, or managers want clips, and actors want reels, and da-da-da. It needs to be very clear what everybody wanted. No, not true. Welcome to no. You don't get to have clarity around this. Here you go, right? So let's just all quit grasping for clarity, because you are never going to feel that way, okay? So if we quit grasping for clarity, we get to ask a different question. The new question gets to be, for Sam, the question would be, I have reps. What do you want me to have on my profile? I want to have what's going to work best for you. And here's why. You have to remember, Sam's manager and agent, you have manager and agent, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Are sitting at their desk all day, and they know what is getting their clients in the door with the casting directors that they have relationships with. So they know what currency works for them, right? And that currency for your manager might be, I always get people in when I have a reel, so that's the currency I need from you. And your agent might say, I like clips because that's what I need from you. And then if you go, great, I want to let you both know, you're asking for different things, I'm going to put both of them up there. They're both going to be there. So I just want to be very mindful that I'm doing this because you both asked for this. Right?
Okay.
For the rest of the people who might not have a rep giving them that direct advice, here's the advice that is the bottom line. do not let me see shitty footage of you. Do not let me see a second of shitty footage from you. Delete it, remove it, take it off of YouTube, hide it. Because I will look on Instagram, I will find you, I will look you up to see if I want to call you in. So what that means is, I'm not talking about footage where the lighting might not be perfect. Oftentimes, I think sometimes actors will be like, it's about the lighting's not bad or the sound's not perfect. And actually, sometimes those things will still elevate if your acting is good. So it's about, is your acting good in that footage? So I don't want to get into like, let's talk about editing reels, but I want to get really clear on, if you're the actor who's like, I've got like 3 short scenes, none of them could stand alone as a clip, but they do work together if I make a reel, then that's the answer. It's what you have in front of you. You have those pieces, then let's put that out there. If you don't have those pieces, I've seen a lot of actors move into the world of, I have a self-tape reel. Like, I love this idea. It's like, it's easier to make, it's less expensive. You could do like a 90-second version of this where you do 3 different scenes. The one thing that I'll say about a self-tape reel is because it's so new, we don't have a real pin. Like, no one can tell you if it's right or wrong, so screw anyone who tries to tell you that, first of all, because it is so new, piss off. If some manager tells you you shouldn't do this, great manager, thank you. When you and the rest of the managers in the world want to get together and hold a forum and tell every actor in the world how everything should be done, we will 100% do things that way. But until then, we're going to do the best we can over here. So I'm not going to follow your one piece of advice. Okay, so we just got to be very clear on that. And by the way, I love managers, so I want to make sure I'm like trying to just be clear that when you do this, someone will say you did something wrong. And we're going to
be great. Because if you talk to 10 different casting directors, you get 10 different answers to this question too. So you kind of have to do with what you have at the moment in time, right?
But and also part of what I worry about is the sensitivity of the artist who can be susceptible to the word casting director before anyone's name. So that when casting director X gives you a piece of advice, it is the answer. It is not something I'm allowed to have an opinion or a thought around. And I just really want to unpack that for everybody, that is one person's experience in their particular casting office. So some advice can be applied to everything. And then some advice, I still think you need to make your own. And by the way, this is everything we're talking about to make your profile look more like you. So I would rather see the actor who said, I've decided to do this, this, and this, and this because it looks the most like me, than I followed all the rules and we are one of the 3,000, right? So let me just get into this. So this idea of the self-tape reel, I think is a beautiful idea. But what I would just say is, because you're like able to do that a little bit more inexpensively than create a full reel, I always think that like you should try to have that edited a little bit more fancy. So maybe rather than the full scene, maybe it's like 25 seconds or 30 seconds of the first scene and it fades out into the next. And like, it's almost like we're not having to get the beginning of every scene, just so that it feels a little bit fanced up, since we know that it is a self-tape reel. The other is you can also have just self-tapes sitting on your Actors Access profile and use them. I always say though, if you're going to do that, it needs to pack a punch. I don't need to see a 4-minute scene.
Gonna say that. I was just gonna say that if we're doing the self-tape, it's because it's a damn good self-tape, guys. I mean, we're cutting to the meat.
I just think about when you watch, I don't know if anyone else is watching TikTok, but I definitely like to like turn it on while I'm making dinner and flip through as I'm cooking. I can swipe after 30 seconds if I want to hear the rest of it. So it's a good example of like, I know if I'm in or not at 30 seconds, 10 seconds even, right? So just knowing that we don't have to work that hard to get it all into the 30 seconds. We have to just like make an impression of some sort. It doesn't have to be A to Z in that time.
Yeah. Guys, keep adding questions if you want to add a question to the question section at the bottom, and we'll go over those at the very end.
And I'm going to make a small commercial. Can I make a small commercial for everybody who's here?
Yeah.
So listen, the conversation that Sam and I are having is so important and such a foundation of what I believe. Tomorrow, there's a training, if you haven't joined me already, Gimme More Auditions, inspired by Brittany, of course. And then there's also one on Monday. And if you go to gimmemoreauditions.com, you can register, or you can go to the link in my bio. And I'm leading you through a class for how to test your Actors Access profile and make changes that will get you more auditions. And what I love about this class is, first of all, A, it's free. But B, is that if you do what I say in this class, you will immediately see your auditions go up. Like this is not a hard change. It's not like go out and spend money. I'm gonna go make it look like this, and it'll do better. So I hope you'll join me for that. Okay, what are you seeing what are you seeing?
Okay, so let's see here. What about putting national commercials on a resume? Okay. What are our thoughts here?
So my question would be to you, is your goal national commercials? If your goal is national commercials, then the platform where you get commercial auditions, you could try to list that. However, if your goal is theatrical work, why would you confuse me by having a bunch of commercials listed? Is it to give yourself legitimacy? Because I didn't know we were trying to card you to get inside of a club here today. So the other thing about it is people will say, don't list that you were in a commercial for Ford because then Chevy will never call you in and all that kind of stuff. So
that's what I've been told a lot.
Right. So a lot of times I love when an actor does this, and I think it's so important on casting networks, is the directors of commercials are known by casting directors. Know who directed your commercial and put that on there. And you could also say auto commercial or national commercial without giving the name of the brand. And that way you're kind of saying who the director was, because you want to drop the names of the directors. I can't tell you the number of times. I did hundreds of commercials. I made my living for a long time. I can't tell you the number of times I would go onto a set and the director would say, Brian, I'm so glad we finally are getting to work with you. You auditioned for me 3 times ago. And I was like, I did? Like, I had no idea, because it was so long ago and they had known who I was from being submitted so many times. So keep those names are important. That gives you legitimacy, the director, more than the product. Like product schmoduct. We want to know the director there. And
would that be its own category?
On casting networks, I believe it is its own category, in fact. And on Actors Access, so here's the thing. Actors Access, there's a random commercial once in a while. It's not like the place for it. So what you need to think about is, so if Actors Access is not the place where people are casting the most commercials, then I bet most actors are not listing a lot of commercials on their resume, which means the casting director who is randomly casting a commercial on Actors Access is probably not looking at a lot of profiles that say commercials on it. Great. I don't have to add mine. It's probably still going to make an impression, right? So that's where I go, right? Great
question. Okay. In this strange climate, is there a good or bad time of the year to send an email submission for representation? I think I'm going to table that because that's not quite what we're talking about today. Or do you want to touch on it?
I'll just say there's never a bad time.
Okay, great.
Please, you can go ahead and believe into the myth that there's a bad time and you can just hold you static forever, but I would just say never believe that.
Yeah, I got new reps in January when the pandemic was at its worst. So
I had new people get new reps the week before Christmas. So yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
See, there are no rules.
Yes.
Is it okay to ask a casting director who's familiar with your work we're talking about agents again.
Yeah.
Okay, do you know why when I'm trying to upload a photo on Actors Access, the colors are changing?
Oh, I will say this. I want to say this. I'm not sure I'll have the answer for that question, but I want to give it a everybody, right? Actors Access will talk to you on the phone and will fix shit for you. So
I haven't
call them. The phone number is right at the top of their thing. Call them or I would call because they actually don't. I've not been on hold that long when I've called Actors Access, just so you know, and say my photo didn't upload right. What can we do? Can I send it to you? And they will go in and do it for you. So I think that sometimes we think like I'm supposed to just interact with it like it's an app. Actors Access and casting networks are a little more homespun than Uber. So let's not get like so hands off with them in that way.
Okay.
So ask for the help you need.
I realize the only thing we didn't really talk about so far is headshots.
Yeah.
You want to touch on
that? Don't get headshots. Everyone, don't get headshots. Okay. So let's talk about headshots.
Take a ring shot. Take a ring light. Take your own shot. No.
This is the lie. Don't do that. Okay. Okay. Do not put 10 headshots on your profile. I'm gonna jump off a cliff. No one needs you to have 10 headshots. When you have 10 headshots, it tells me this actor is confused about themselves. Okay, caveat. Now I'm gonna break my own rule. Your manager or agent said, I need you to have these pictures on them. You're gonna follow their rules because remember, I just have to give your managers and agents props if you have them to imagine they're sitting at their desk and they know what works and what doesn't. So let's pretend so for those of you who have representation, I want you to really listen. Those of you who don't, this is for you to think about for one day. And then I want to talk to the actors who don't have representation. So I don't want you to feel unseen here. So the actors who have representation, let's pretend Sam's agent is like, I want this picture, like 10 pictures. And your manager's like, I want this one and this one and this one. And they don't go like this. They're not the same photos. Just remember that very rarely do they remember exactly the photo that they chose for you. So I'm not saying that I want you to lie. But I do think you could go like, okay, great. I'm looking at the 10 she wants. I'm looking at the 6 he wants. These feel like they're about the 6 I'd like to land on where they kind of match. And then I might say, hey, I don't want to break the bank. So I'm gonna nibble this down to 6 headshots. Here are the 6 I'm thinking about posting. Is there anything missing here? Or are you going to be okay if I post these 6? I know they're not exactly the ones you looked at before. And then you're kind of like at least getting into the conversation. I think it's totally okay to say, I don't want to bite off more than I can chew in terms of spending money right now. Because they'll hear that.
It adds up once you get on Actors Access and, you know, casting networks. If you don't pay for it, it's $20 a photo now, just flat, which is a lot. It's a lot of money.
A lot, yeah. Yeah, so you think about you get a shoot, then you've got an extra $150 to add to put your photos up there. Like, that's a lot. So then, okay, so I want to talk about non-represented actors kind of dealing with the number of photos. You have to be more clear on who you're putting out into the world, because if I'm a manager or agent, I'm probably going to go look at your profile at some point, right? So don't give me 10 photos. Show me exactly the roles that you should be playing tomorrow. Show me those roles, right? And I think there's this thing that's kind of happening, and it happened about, I don't know, I would say like 10 years ago as well, where headshots are starting to look like a headshot. And then the industry doesn't like that. And so I want you to really notice whose headshots are coming through and feeling a little more alive. That's the word I would use, or a little less filtered, or a little less headshot-like, because I'm really on a push for a lot of actors to think about that or look for pictures that look that way. That is not to say you shouldn't have a standard headshot-looking headshot, and I'm not saying, go take a crazy picture with a hat and glasses on. I'm saying, like, just notice who feels more present in their pictures, because so many of us are now visually holding a phone in our hand where we can look at things all the time. We're used to seeing very real people, and so the production around headshots can sometimes not feel present. So you want to keep that presence. That's important to me, that your presence comes through. Hope that helps everybody.
That's super helpful. I think it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to describe, like, this is kind of what is a good headshot now versus like then. So being a present photo is a very good.
And here's the other thing. I want to be very clear. When you take a headshot photo with some of the fanciest headshot photographers, there's a reason they charge a lot, and the reason they're fancy. They're probably really good. So I wanted to not discredit that at all. They're really good at their job. They're top of their game, or they wouldn't be expensive. I want to just kind of give that space. And so sometimes I think actors always think of headshots as that place they might be able to swing a deal. Let me see if I can swing a deal around here. And I was like, okay, but there might be the truthful place where you need to make a real investment. And I hate saying that because I want to be protective of your money. But the investment is not, headshot shoots next month, I'm ready. It's so much, we all know that's so much more than that, like the prepping and the wardrobe and the da-da. So I just want to make sure that, like, the investment should be more than just a day on set. It should be so much more of the prep you go into beforehand. Yeah.
Yes. Great. Okay. In terms of having the headshots on there, when you said, like, you should be really clear about what your casting is, right? So just a couple. I often have actors come to me who are like, I'm a stunt girl, but I kind of look like a nice girl next door. How do I do it all in a headshot? How do I, like, get it all in a profile that looks casting? And I look at their profiles and I'm like, I'm confused. I don't know where to put you.
So I think there's this, I realize that we're tapping into something that I think comes up a lot. There's sometimes you need that category picture. Like, I need to show I'm a stunt person. I need to show that I am a fitness trainer. I need to, like, there's that one category. We need, like, that one picture that shows a special skill, I would almost say, right? And so I want to think about it as, great, I'm going to show you one freaking picture that is that thing. Because if you're interested in that thing, you'll go deeper, because I only need to let you know that I do it. Then all my other pictures are going to be my straight out how I'm cast on TV right now. Does that help a little bit, Sam? I don't know if I answered the question. Okay, did I answer the question?
No, it is. It is, because people also asked about putting full body shots, if they needed athletic shots and that kind of a thing on there. And I think,
No, listen, okay. I was talking to a guy yesterday in class. I guess this guy came to class yesterday, and he was saying, so I'm a music director as well, and I'm a director, and I'm a producer, and I want to be getting TV and film. I go, okay, great. It's called Actors Access, not Directors Access, not Music Directors Access, not Producers Access. None of that belongs on your resume. If you want to get those jobs, great. Focus your work towards those somewhere else. It does not add legitimacy to you to be having those things on there. It adds confusion to the person looking at it. So I want to be very clear about that. So if you are a stunt person who uses that platform to get stunt jobs, then you need the photo. If you're an actor who also does stunts and that is not what or you're a stunt person and that's not where you get stunt jobs, then why don't you put a line at the top of your resume that says stunt performer as well, or something that just stands out, or stunt work is its own section in the thing? That is clear enough for me. The question is, how are you using it? When I worked in advertising, we'd always talk about, okay, great, this is a billboard. We don't just go sit down and go, let's design the billboard. We go, what street is it on? What corner is it on? Who lives in that neighborhood? So what is the method by we're looking at the Actors Access? If we're not someone who's shopping for stunt, if you're not using it to get you stunt jobs, why would you make it look great about your stunt jobs? It just doesn't connect. That makes sense? Sorry, I got really passionate there.
No, I love it. I love it. I love it. We had a couple more questions come through. Will casting networks reform their membership options? They used to have easier options on the budget. Did that come up in your conversation at all?
No. So here's what I'll say. The thing where I think actors are getting frustration on casting networks and their cost is to have the media on there, you're bumping up your price. And most people will want to have that media because you believe into the idea of it pushing you ahead and getting more jobs. I think there's a delicate dance that everyone can try where you don't purchase it, you live with it for a few months, or better, no, let me do the dance backwards. You purchase it for a month, you live with it for a month, and you see you write down the number of auditions you get, and you submit every day. This is this is data, not drama. You're not allowed to make this decision on a hunch, people, and then get mad at casting networks. You have to do it with paper and pen and write it down. Okay, I submitted every day for a month, and I got this many auditions, and this is the pattern that I noticed. I was getting called in for these ones, I was using my media, blah, 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 blah. Cool, I'm gonna turn it off for a month. What kind of auditions did I get? And if you dare to me and say, I don't wanna turn it off because I know I got more auditions. No, you don't. You assume you got more auditions because you were happy because you submitted for 30 days, bitch. So, no, turn it off for a month and see what happens. And then you do the numbers. Now, the thing is, it isn't perfectly scientific. Let's just be clear. Like, I got 30 auditions and I got 10. That's pretty significant. I got 30 and I got 20. I would probably, that we're in a little bit more of a zone of like, I'm not sure yet. Let me think about it. Let me try it for another month, right? So just making a very data-driven decision around the spend there. When I was doing commercials in Los Angeles and we were using casting networks for everything, I was like, I'm paying for this and I don't know if I need to. And I was like, oh, no, these cast directors know me already. I don't need to have, no one's looking at these videos. Who cares? And I turned off and I was totally fine. The audition rate did not change at all. So we just have to, but you have to, but I was willing to see what would happen.
The idea of testing it for yourself is also very empowering. I think I like that a lot.
Totally.
Let's see. There's some questions. Should actors in all regions have casting networks? Is casting networks for all regions, Brian?
So here's the thing about casting networks is worldwide. That being said, I think it's all like, let's make sense of some of these things. Like, is it actually getting auditions in your neighborhood? Because let's not spend money for something that's not. So I always think like most of these sites will allow you to join for a month and then like back out. So I say, great, do it for a month and then make sure you cancel in time. But like do it for a month and submit every single day and be like, okay, I got 12 auditions this month, or I submitted to 20 and I got 12. So that feels like, yeah, if there's 20 jobs a month for me, then that feels like it's worth me making the investment. Again, it's data driven, it's not hunch driven. And I think we don't want to go there as actors because we so much want to attribute the success to my talent or my headshots. No, this is how many headshots, this is how many auditions they posted. That's the end of the story.
I like collecting information. If you primarily do commercial acting, does Actors Access still serve you as well?
Okay, and I just saw K3RRIOS3 asked a great question, so if you can just clock that one so we can come back to it.
Okay.
So if you're mostly doing commercials, I'll tell you, Actors Access is the cheapest one at $68. Or you can use the free version. So I probably would I wouldn't like kill my profile on there because sometimes there's commercials there, right? But if commercials is your number one goal, then spend all of your energy on making casting networks look like the most gorgeous thing in the world and don't spend any money on these other profiles. Like, what a dream would it be to say, my focus is that this is my billboard and my casting in my life and my career, and it is going to look baller, and I'm going to put all my energy here, and that's my focus. And once every 2 weeks, I'm just checking to make sure things are looking good, and that's my world, right? That would be such a lovely, to me, I know I'm coming from the position of how good it would feel to have that be your focus.
Yeah. It's nice to check that box. Okay, so the question was using notes in Actors Access submissions.
Yes. Okay. So she said, I feel like I'm saying unnecessary things are the wrong things. So first of all, most actors say the wrong things. So good job being one of them because we're going to fix it. So want to plug one more time, come to the class tomorrow, come to the class on Monday. We go into this more in depthly and teach you some tricks about it. But you must put a note. Don't be a dipstick. Put a note. And don't say something like, hi, I'm Kelly, so nice to meet you. Like, no. Because some of you may have heard this already. I had the guys from Actors Access and Casting Networks, or Actors Access and Casting About on the podcast 2 weeks ago.
Yes, I listened to that. That's great.
Good one, right? And I think it was so important to have them after the panorama because it is so different the way we need to relate to it right now. So anyway, so the note, if I drag my mouse near that note or I click on that note, I can see like 140 characters of that note before I click on it. So those 140 characters, I think it's 150 actually, are so important. Because let's say in that breakdown it said, must be bilingual, must have baton twirling skills, who knows? So in that first thing you should say is baton twirling skills, or have background in speak Spanish or something, so that's the first thing that they say. Because then if I'm scrolling through all the people who look like you, okay, great, this one's already answered my question. So what I'm thinking about doing, the way I think about the note is, how can I help the casting director who's looking at a bunch of faces just like mine on a screen do less? Now, I want to have a timeout, a serious timeout, Sam. This is so not your fucking job as an actor. Let's just really just pause for that. Like, your job for an actor is to freaking be an actor. And we are really talking about the business today. So I really want to just make sure, as we're talking about this shit, that you get really conscious with yourself around, I care about acting so much that I'm choosing to put the energy into thinking about this. I just really want to make sure no one gets any crazy cuckoo, like, because I think it can make you really diminish your art, or think, because I believe actors should just be recognized for their art. And because we just know that's not the world planet we're in, there's something else for an actor to learn about being engaged with the business, which is what I think is so, which is why I see so many actors also having other passions, because you're like, wow, I'm kind of good at this business thing too, or doing some kind of other thing with my passion, right? And so I just want to make space for, it is okay for this to bring up resistance, because you're meant to be acting all day long and you have to do some other stuff to get there. So I just want to make space. Yeah.
No, that's great. That's great to know, because it can kind of feel like that. So we do. So think about we're thinking about answering all the quick questions of that submission in like a tweet.
And like a tweet, yes. And you could put more information, but you want to get that first 150 characters packing a punch. So no highs, no hellos, none of that shit. UCB groundlings, improv stand-up comedian. Like, you could say more of that in the note, because then I have to click on it to read it. But like, give me the juice at the top.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
My reps have their own tab on Actors Access. Is it okay to have more headshots under my own tab? Is the Actors tab general profile limiting on my photos? So, we have separated.
Yes. I think that's one of the great. I actually think that's one of the great gifts of both of these platforms. Is you get control of your platform. Yours looks like, and your agents get control of theirs look like. The only place where it looks the same is your resume. So let's just be very clear. Your resume is the same on all of them. Your headshots get to change a little bit. So I'm not sure what the question was. Did I cover it?
Is it okay to have more headshots under their tab?
I mean,
tab my general profile.
To me, I would just say they're the boss. I think it is inappropriate for an actor to question their manager's desire for certain headshots on their profile, because you're not giving that person the dignity of their function in your career.
What a sentence.
Right.
Brilliant.
So listen, they're a manager. You're an actor. Does that person go, your acting wasn't good in that audition? Like, maybe they give you some feedback once in a while, but your job is not to tell you how to act. Do not tell them how to manage. If you don't believe in your manager, that's a very different conversation. We
can host that chat another time.
Yeah. Give them the dignity of knowing what they think you need on your profile.
I love that.
Also, because this is totally selfish. Give them the dignity so you don't go crazy thinking about it. I mean, I'm saying this because if you don't, you're gonna be like, I don't think they're doing the right thing, and it should have just pictures. Like, this is for you. I'm saying you have the dignity for yourself. Like, it's better for you that way. Yeah.
Yeah. You work with them for a reason. These are things to keep in mind when you meet with agents and managers.
Yes.
And then I wanted to ask you one more question before we wrap.
Yes.
So you taught your workshop yesterday.
Yes.
And you're teaching again tomorrow,
yes.
and then on Monday.
Yes.
And so every time I teach, like my working actor workshop, for example, I learn something from the people who are asking questions, from the people who are there. Did you learn anything yesterday?
Yeah, I learned a couple things. I'll just share them with you. So the one thing, I said it earlier, but I'll say it again in case anybody joined us late, which is, y'all are hungry to audition. You should be. You spent 18 months in weird land. And I know we're not completely out of this yet, but production is happening again. We need to get to a place where we can embrace that. That is not to say you need to rush your safety within yourself around being around people and masks and all that stuff. I'm just saying we need to, as actors, begin to embrace that the world is coming back for production, and the shows are happening, things are happening, right? Theater is happening. And so that one thing I took away is, people really want to audition. That was so heartening and uplifting to like, yes, we do. We want to get out there. The other way they want to get out there. The other thing that I took away was being data-driven does not come naturally to actors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome because you're actually trained to use your imagination and connection as the ways you can decide if you're doing a good job. Your job is to know, am I using my imagination well? Am I connected? Those are your two big tools, right? And so being data-driven is so not there. That's so not your skill. Of course not. No, how no am I going to go there, right? So I just feel like, so what I learned is the moment that I give the littlest bit around collecting data, it does get something excited, because how nice is it to feel validated that when I make this change, this will happen. When I do this adjustment, this will be the way people see me. And so I think that because actors have habituated themselves to the I don't really get to feel solid on the ground, the next job's coming around the corner, we'll see, I didn't get that audition. Like, we've habituated to not uncertainty, that the certainty, we're starving for certainty, and we just have to almost be given permission to say that certainty can be a way to move through part of this career. And that's what I think was this class. Yeah.
It can be super scary to be like, oh wait, I am kind of in control of this. Oh God, oh God.
Yes, you are. That is the truth. And also, here's the thing, what you just said is so important. It is scary to acknowledge I can be in control of this. And it can be very confronting to say, I got to look at this and see what I'm doing.
Well, if people need to look at it and see what they're doing, will you plug the times of your free workshop one more time?
So 9 a.m. tomorrow morning Pacific time, so 12 o'clock East Coast, and then 2 o'clock Pacific time on Monday, 5 o'clock East Coast. And I'll just say this also, when you enroll, you get these videos that I recorded that are all like mini trainings before the class even, and I think those are gold. So even if you can't make it for some horrible reason, and I'm really so sad you can't be there, you'll get those videos, and I think those are worth it to you. But I do hope you'll be there, because the enchilada is the class where we really go deep into how to make these changes.
Amazing. And where do they sign up?
They sign up at Gimme More Auditions. There's secret little Brittany hints throughout the website, and I'm so obsessed with the URL, so please.
It's worth just going to be honest.
My mom is like, I'm embarrassed and excited for you at the same time, so I'm awesome.
You know, just like setting up your casting profiles, you are attracting the people you want to find.
Yes, exactly.
You're not hiding who you are. I love it so much.
Yes.
Oh, Brian, you're the best. This was so fun. Thank you so much for all of this. You dropped, like, I don't even know what's left for the workshop because you give us so much. But
oh, just you wait, Henry Higgins. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to come.
Okay. Thank you so much. Love you. So good to see you.
Thank you guys.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.